Hello everyone, I'm Eel, and today we are going to pick up where we left off with part 3 of What Car Should I Buy? And right now we're going to focus on the topic of comfort. This goes out to all of you like me who endure a good daily commute. Now, you might think that when you're shopping around for a vehicle and you know that you're going to be putting some serious mileage on it, driving every day to work perhaps, that you're going to want to prioritize fuel efficiency, something that's not going to break the bank every time you got to fill up with gas. But if you watch my last video and how I think safety is the most important thing you should think about when shopping for a car, you're not going to find a lot of fuel efficient options. But I would like to recommend some middle ground with the Toyota Highlander. Now the Highlander typically comes with a V6 engine, which really doesn't get that great gas mileage, but you could bring it up a little bit if you find a model with a 4-cylinder engine, and you can get somewhere closer to 21 to 24 miles to the gallon, which if you're used to driving smaller cars, those numbers are really not impressive. But the safety features of a Highlander are only a slight step below that I mentioned in regards to the Toyota Sequoia. The Highlander is not a small car. It's not a light car, although it's not as big and as heavy as a Sequoia. And it doesn't have the body-on-frame design like a Sequoia. But it is tried and true on the road. When you look at its fatality rates, it's very comparable to that of a Toyota Sequoia. So you're not really losing that much in terms of safety, but you are getting almost double the gains in fuel efficiency. Now, I think that's a really good compromise. Also, I think comfort, if you are putting on serious mileage, should be a priority for you. And there are ways that a car can be more comfortable. There are upgrades that you can do to them to make the ride a little bit softer, perhaps, or to do sound absorption so that you have a quieter ride. But you're really going to get the max potential on a vehicle that is built with an ideal foundation. And that's where the Highlander comes in. Now, I drive a Scion XB, a second generation one, for those of you wondering, in my commute. And it's a pretty freaking comfortable car. It doesn't feel quite as small as it is when you try to fit it in a garage. It's really compact, but it feels really comfy inside. However, it is not the ideal foundation to maximize comfort. And there's two ways that we can do that. You can look at the wheelbase and the tire wall size. Now, the wheelbase of a Highlander is really long. That extra length is a great foundation for comfort because the suspension doesn't have to work quite as hard to absorb the little bumps in the road. And second is the tire wall size. A compact car like an XB or anything similar, Corollas, Civics, or you go smaller, Honda Fit, Toyota Yaris, all those vehicles, they tend not to have a lot of tire wall. And sometimes they'll have really slim tire wall, and a lot of cars are actually trending to have slimmer and slimmer tires on their wheels because it looks sporty, it looks cool. But it actually sacrifices quite a bit of comfort, ride quality, and noise because of how much tire and how much rubber is there to absorb those things. A Highlander has quite a significant amount of tire to soak up all that stuff from the ride. Now, most of the Highlanders in the year range that I recommend, which is 2012 to 2014, and I'll tell you why, most of the Highlanders in that year range come stock with 17-inch, sometimes larger rims, which as you go up in rim size, you lose tire size. But if my research is correct, you should be able to put 16-inch rims on that generation of Highlander, maximizing the amount of tire wall that you can get. So that's a really good foundation to start off with. As the years go on, you can make little upgrades to make this vehicle more comfortable for you. And that could be just in creature comforts or stuff that improves the ride quality and the sound. So yeah, that's why I recommend the Toyota Highlander. Now, our family actually owns a first generation Highlander, but it has some features that are lacking. And the reason I recommend the 2012 to 2014 range, for one, is you can actually find those with the 4-cylinder engine. And you're not going to get all-wheel drive, it'll just be front-wheel drive. But if you're putting tons of miles on there and you're really not going through adventurous terrain, that's going to be just fine for you. Worst case scenario, it snows, you slap some chains on there and you'll be good. But some of the serious things you should consider is that the Highlander from 2012 to 2014 ensures that you're going to get that 60-40 seat split in the rear. Actually, it might be 50-50 on those ones. But regardless, if you have to use a third row seat in there, it is tight and it's not that comfortable. But if you have to, you can fold down half of it and use the rest for cargo space. The other thing is, if you live in Southern California where it gets super hot, or anywhere like that, it's not going to have that third row climate control, which is something you could find on something a little bit larger, like a Toyota Sequoia. But if you're just planning on using the front row or the front and the middle rows, there is climate control, and there is side curtain airbags, and you should be able to get away with that. I would recommend a Toyota Highlander for families up to 2 kids. If you end up trying to cram 3 car seats in that middle row, you're going to have a rough time. And if you try splitting up into that third row, once again, you're risking too warm or too cold of a climate in the back. Another thing is, I don't recommend getting a Highlander as your only vehicle. As a matter of fact, I do recommend that Toyota Sequoia if you are trying to buy your first vehicle or just have one vehicle. It really has a lot of future proof and all the features and utility that you could possibly need from a gasoline powered vehicle. If you need a second vehicle that you're going to put those kinds of miles on and you're willing to make a small sacrifice, a Highlander is going to be my recommendation for you. All right. I do have more to say about these things. I hope that you enjoyed. Please stay tuned for part 4.